It was somewhere in Wales at the end of July. It rained all night long, so we tried not to die. The trails were slippy, the trails were steep, but just for you, Boots, here's a sheep. So, any of you who have looked at my community posts and Instagram will know that recently I grabbed an old bike back from my mum's house with the idea of building it up for one last hurrah before I sell it. And here it is. It's a 2010 or 2011 Iron Horse Sunday World Cup. The model that Sam Hill used to ride and took to many a victory. I never got many a victory on it. It's one hell of a bike. RockShox Vivid, Fox 40s, coil again. Drivetrain is Saint, but with a roadie cassette on. I mean, you're not going to be pedalling much on these things, are you? And Mr. Happy Mudguard. Well, you've got to be happy, haven't you? And I've not used this bike in 10 years at least. Reason being, never really had anywhere to ride it. So, I can't tell you, pedaling it around, not exactly a joy, because oh, is it Bobby? It's more Bobby than Pat the Doggy Bobby, and the ratio for the gears is let's just say designed for downhill. 38 to 12 to 28. So you don't want to be pedaling this thing on the flat. You can't pedal it uphill at all. Really a one-trick pony. And that is part of the reason why it's sat in a shed for 10 years. Because even though I moved back up north, moved to Bingley, and you could argue there's some big bloody hills around there, there's not many downhill tracks, not many uplifted places, so it just didn't make sense anymore. And so, with the bike built up, it's time to give it a go. Now initially, I had wanted to do a back-to-back with this and my Alpine, but the front brake is off the Alpine. And the reason for that is, all the other front brakes I had, the hose wasn't long enough to deal with the Fox 40s. So, joining me on this mission is Mark. Now you notice,
must be mad,
Mark has an Alpine. So, we'll be testing this against the Alpine. So, here we go. First real ride on this bike in, what, 10 years? I think it's something like that anyway. And I've been really looking forward to it, to be honest, like really looking forward to it. I did love this bike. The only problem is, of course, it absolutely tipped it down yesterday. So what would have been a fantastic ride in a fantastic location is going to be on a bloody frightening slipathon. But never mind. And as for location, well, we've come back today to somewhere I've been to before, just down in North Wales. Lovely place, quite rooty. By quite, I mean very, as you can possibly see. Wow. And yeah, the routes are slippy. Right, quick reset. Might have some air at me front tyre when we get down, or even in the middle, because God, I want a bit more grip. Yes. Ah, lovely. Ready you are, Bob? Let's go. So, into the bottom half now. There's actually a couple of bottom halves here. And this one I think is the easier of the two. And as I said, this is the warm up. So you don't want to go too crazy in a warm up, do you? Nice and steep here. Nice trails. Gotta go a bit cautious. As I say, it would have been very nice to do it in similar conditions to how I've been here before. Bloody hell. This first one's go. This one's turned out to be a shitter. Right, off we go again. But because it proves a point, doesn't it? complaining about I'd like it to be in the same conditions, but it's not. It's really not. Look further down you go. Oh, the slippier it gets. Friggin' hell. I think a lot of it is down to familiarity with conditions as well, because when you've been riding dry trails for ages, most of the wet trails seem a bit intimidating. Partly it probably is because that fear of slipping up because it's wet makes you overcautious, so you're more likely to slip off in the wet. Like that. Fucking hell. I'll get on to put the bikes riding like in a bit when I get my head round riding the bike. Blimey. As first runs go, that was a magical one. 4 crashes, and hopefully that just gives an idea of how bloody slippy this place is today. It's crazy. So here we go again, slippy as can be. That first run really was slippy my lippy. I don't think I've ever crashed as many times on a run anywhere ever as that. Whew. One of the things I did last night was I actually changed the tyres around on this because I had quite bald high roller on the front and a Michelin Comp 16 on the back, and there's no way that was going to work. And I think I've already talked about this anyway. I'll shut up then. So here we go again, hoping that it'll all dry out a bit because the weather has slightly picked up now. It's just, it really did rain so much last night onto, I guess, an already sodden hill that it didn't stand a chance really, did it? And neither do we. Oh, bit of a shame, as I said. I mean, I'd love to be able to see how this bike compares to a more modern Enduro bike, and that was the idea, but that's not going to happen today. It's just not the conditions for that. Let's see if we can get on a bit better down here this time, on the bottom half. Not so far. Bloody hell. It's like, anyone's been to Morzine and really the cheeky stuff. It's sort of like that. And you know how Morzine gets when it's wet? Well, it's sort of like that as well. Entertaining is, I guess, the way you put it. And that's where I crashed last time. Did a big dab. So, what's it like riding a 10-year-old and then 12-year-old downhill bike nowadays? It's actually really nice. The main thing you notice is the length of it. It's short. I let Mark just have a quick sit before I'll let Mark go later. But first thing he said was, good God, it's short. Is it a small? No, it's not. This is a medium. The smalls must be bloody minuscule, to say the least. Oh, I can swing that route then. Oh God. God, this place. Well, I stayed on, didn't dab. I stopped though, wasn't I? Was that the most silliest bloody track sounds? So the Mark, I think, big challenge today is going to be A, getting down without a crash, and the mega one, getting down without a dab. I'm blowing out of my arse. It's physical, really physical. And you notice today I brought this I hardly ever wear this. Today I deemed it necessary. Here we are again, up at the top, and look, it's sunny! It hasn't made much difference yet. Hopefully it will. Right, here we go again. Happy as can be. Bloody hell. Now this one, I don't really remember it, to be honest. I think I did it at the end of the day last time. Wow. I'll tell you that. There's things I'm loving about this bike and things I'm not so much. I mean, obviously I'm still getting used to it. As the day goes on, it's getting a bit easier. But one of the things I'm not is really the head angle is way steeper, and a lot of people used to put angle setters on these and take the head angle out by 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees, and I never saw the point really. So like what we did was trails like this rather than flat out type things. I think I always thought, oh, probably better with a steeper head angle for this, but now having ridden my orange and seeing what a slacker head angle's like, realise that they're better for the tight stuff as well. We're going to ride the other one to the bottom, and this one is, if I can find the damn thing, quite steep. Here it is. Bloody hell. Woohoo! It's quite a juicy Lucy. See, the head angle on this is relatively steep. It's a short bike as well. That's no bad thing really. That's how bikes were. I say it's actually riding really nice. I'm loving it. But yeah, I think a little bit longer, a little bit slacker would make it. Like, blow my knee out. Fuck. Damn. Right, onwards and downwards. And yeah, I was about to say, freaking out, that the other thing with these is, it was always the case, it's got an incredibly low bottom bracket height. So this, as recommended, is running 165mm cranks, and you don't really notice the scorching cranks. Guess you're not pedaling anywhere in it really, you know. But you do sometimes catch pedals on things. That's not what happened back there. What happened back there was a foot slipped off and caught on a root. It twisted my knee. The same day I blew it on the trampoline the other week, and it's never been right since then. Wow. Oh well, down we get. Bloody love that trail. Love it. I'm kind of dying to see what Mark's reaction is after that bit. From where I set off again, that first bit where you go over a rock, it's rooty, it's steep, it's loose, and then you go into a couple of rather tight corners. It's interesting, it really is. And there's some other bits further down which are interesting. So Mark has been kind enough to let me have a go on his Alpine to see what it's like in comparison. I'm lying. The truth is, I persuaded Mark to have a go on that to see what he thinks to a ancient downhill bike. I think he'll like it, but I think he'll be a bit, woo, it's short.
Yeah, excited about this.
We'll see how he gets on.
Right, I'm on a familiar, but not familiar bike, obviously, on an Alpine. And I'm not going to really compare this to how that feels to me. As I say, it's not mine and same bike and everything else, but obviously it's like the way it's set up, built and everything else. Oh, I'm not a great follower. I tend to watch what the person in front is doing rather than thinking about where I'm going. I wonder what Mark's going to be thinking to that thing. It's one thing you do notice, I going to mention it, the amount of travel you do get away with a log. They just soak it up. 200 mil travel's pretty massive, and triple crown forks as well. The steering on them is so precise compared to single crowns.
This is following me, so I apologise in advance if I have to stop or dab.
Don't worry, mate, it's all good. Right, off we go again. Happy days. Yeah, this has got a fair bit drier now. It's still not what you'd call super grippy, but yeah, don't worry, mate. You just went the cool guys line. Whoa! Oh dear.
I tried to hit the corner and got the bike.
Whoa! That's my crash corner! What are you doing? Oh, I don't want to be starting from here. Oh, this really is just so... Right, here we go again. Happy days. Oh. This trail. The one thing you notice about this over that is that these are easier to ride, and probably a combination of things. Obviously it's longer, more stable, but also, oh god, whoa, oh, what? What? Oh god, I was totally distracted then. Oh. Bloody hell.
That put you off?
A bit. I was looking at you more than looking where I was going. You've got to be a lot more physical with a downhill bike. A lot more. Because you have the weight and everything else. And suspension. What a day. Crazy conditions. Crazy. That's it, nice one. Nice! I think he's just rode that better on mine than he's managed on his. Well, Mark's sick of crashing.
Yeah.
I apparently am not sick of crashing, even though I should be. So Mark's cutting off now, he needs to get home. I'm going to go up on my own. So, on my own now, Mark's had to go, and as such, I'm hoping I don't have a big crash and spangle myself, because no one's going to find me. Well, I guess Mark knows where I am. And really loving riding this bike now. So I've got more used to it. Just going to go on Mark's Orange. It's set up different to mine, fair enough, but honestly, much better riding this down, and I think it is part of that, getting used to being a bit more physical with them again. He says he goes right off the track, but to an earlier point, they are very much a one-trick pony, and even, you know, a modern one, which I guess, you know, they're a lot slacker and everything else. Still, you know, for riding downhill on and nothing else. So what does the future hold for this bike then? Well, I really have loved riding it today. I mean, loved riding it. But the fact of the matter remains, how often am I going to ride it in the future? I think the answer for that is probably not very much. Now, I'm not going to just build it up for one ride, because I've enjoyed it enough to want to definitely ride it again. But eventually it'll go. I enjoy riding the two bikes I've got, the Orange and the Hardtail, and you know, unfortunately I don't have room for 3 bikes. Oh, I wish I did. So sketch. One thing today has done. The thing with this bike is, when it was in bits at my mum's house, I used to look at it longingly, remembering good times, good rides, and everything else. So from that perspective, getting out on it today has been amazing, because it's helped me rekindle some of those memories and realise that yes, this bike is special. It really is. Oh, I'm alive! For that, I am grateful. Frigadoon. Been thinking about the amount of times I've crashed today, and yeah, the conditions have been pretty greasy. But I think another thing, and I've only just thought of it on that last run, is I think I'm carrying a lot more speed and stuff on this than I would on my other bike. It kind of makes sense, it's a lot heavier, isn't it? But you go in with a lot more speed, it's a lot harder to get around them corners. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. As an added little extra, I thought, just for kicks, I'd commute in on this thing today. It's only 3 miles. Feels like a lot longer than this thing, let me tell you. This is the bit I was dreading. Might not look much of a climb, and it isn't. But on this thing, Christ, it feels like going up Helvellyn. Changing gear makes no difference. They're all about the same bloody size anyway. Cool or not cool? This is definitely not cool, and I'm just very glad that all the schools are out, so there's not many people around to point and laugh at me, because this, riding this to work, is more embarrassing than riding a cyclocross bike with a full face helmet on. Only marginally, mind. And to keep it real, I kept the seat down. Not that it goes on much anyway. You don't get dropper posts on these things. Just stood in a dog poo. So yes, I guess you can commute to work on a downhill bike. Twice the effort, half the speed. I'm absolutely shattered. The things we do for content, eh? One of these bikes doesn't fit in. See if you can guess which.